Hey guys, Ian here from American Prep. Thanks for tuning in and watching. And tonight's video is over a militia, or the militia. You know, right now our country is in a political whirlwind. We've got a big election coming up in November. Just last week, Barack Obama announced some executive actions on gun control and against the Second Amendment. And, you know, out in Oregon right now, we've got a militia group which has taken over a federal wildlife refuge building in response to a family being sent back to prison to serve more time for a crime they committed years ago. Now, I'm not going to get too far into what the Hammonds did to be sent back to prison, but I will be using the militia group that is out there as a small example here pretty soon. You know, if we look at the U.S. Constitution, we have the Second Amendment, which many gun owners live by. And obviously, politically right now, the Second Amendment is a hot issue. It's a everyday thing for me. I exercise the Second Amendment rights, and I live by it. I really do. But when you have a left-wing liberal and a right-wing conservative arguing about the Second Amendment, they both pick out words out of the Second Amendment, and they both throw them at each other. Now, that's not to say that a liberal left-wing person cannot be a pro-gun individual. I know several. But that's not to say that every right-wing conservative is a pro-gun individual either. You know, it's for everybody, but you can either be for it or against it. It's your personal choice. Now, if we go to Google real fast, I'll type in the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution reads, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Now, the first four letters, or first four words of that, a well-regulated militia, is what the liberals often throw out there in the conversation is a well-regulated. Well, yes, it's regulated, but it's regulated by the militia. The militia is the people. If you go to Google and type in a militia, type in militia. Militia is a military force that is raised from the civil population to supplement a regular army in emergency. The civil population, which is you and I, everyday people who are civilians, non-military or law enforcement individuals, or any powers, that's what we are. That's what the militia is made of. Is you and I, and military members, but usually it's veterans and not active duty. But then there's a couple bullet points down there. It says a military force that engages in rebel or terrorist activities, typically in opposition to a regular army, and all able-bodied civilians eligible by law enforcement for military service. Or not by law enforcement, by law for military service. Sorry, I'm getting tired. Now, we often know that the militia here in the United States does not commit terrorist actions. That is leaning more towards the militias in underdeveloped countries. And, I mean, just in general, the militia here in the United States is a good thing. Especially when the tyrannical government, which the Second Amendment is made for, acts out, the militia speaks up. So, we're going to look at some other things here. The last four words, shall not be infringed, are often used with the right-wing argument, shall not be infringed. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, then we'll go to Google and we'll type in infringe. What does infringe mean? Alright. To actively break the terms of a law or agreement, and then the bullet point below, act so as to limit or undermine something, to encroach on. So basically to restrict, limit, or to make sure that you do or don't have the right is an infringement. Now, what's bringing my thoughts on this video up is I saw a report of what's happening in Oregon this last week, and one of the reports was that the leader of the militia that's out there is not, he basically is getting blamed for stolen valor. He's claiming that he was a member of the military and people called him out on it. He's not a member of the military. Now, there are a couple people out there who are veterans and everything, but then there's also people, not on just YouTube, but all around, who are members of the true militia, and they say they're not part of their militia, they're not truly a militia, and they're just out there to cause ruckus because they said they would go out there willing to die or kill. Now, I'm not actively part of a militia, but that's not to mean that I don't have friends who we both think alike, we prep together, or we get together and shoot and camp and stuff, that we don't have a militia-like presence. I don't call myself a militia, obviously, but like I said, that doesn't mean that I'm not in theory. Now, I have a good friend here on YouTube, Mike from NoStressMike.com. I've known Mike for 10 years, and, well, actually 11 years now, both personally, and we've been communicating back and forth through YouTube for the last couple of years. And he has a theory called the three-man militia, where there's not a group of 10 or 15 people as a militia. There's 3 men or women. There's men's the general term of, humans. So there's 3 men in this militia. They don't have to be all war fighters. They can be 3 people who know how to build a house, 3 people who know how to cook, 3 people who know how to sew. Everybody can have their own militia groups, but they're limited to 3 people. Now, often, I've got my friends broken down into groups. I have 4 groups. They all have 3 people in them, but those people don't know that I am the head of that group, and they don't know that they're in that group until they know. They will find out one day. Now, to be in that group, you have to be skillful on one thing or another. I mean, there's skills, like I've talked about on this channel before, are great because you're going to be useful in a shit hits the fan or grid down situation, whether you think so or not. Not that sewing your clothes up right away is going to be a big thing, but a month into a grid down situation and you've worn your last pair of pants out pretty much, you're going to have to find somebody who knows how to sew, whether it's in your group or not. So why not have somebody in your militia group, your 3-man militia, and have them be able to do what they need to do. Now, when I say my friends don't know that they're part of my militia, it's because not all my groups get together at the same time, and there's a big reason for that. Not every person is going to be knowing that they're a part of it. Now, if you guys are watching this video, don't be upset if I don't come to you and say you're part of my militia. And now you know. There's a reason why you don't know. But there's something that I've been noticing is that out in Oregon, like I said, these people are being called a fake militia. They're not part of the militia. Well, who is the militia? Is it only veterans, or can it be civilians? Because who's to say? Because I'm a firearm owner. I'm a pro-Second Amendment individual. I'm a constitutionalist. Who's to say that I can't saddle up my rifle and my plate carrier there and stand by you, even though you're a veteran? I mean, I don't claim valor. I'm not really into the whole stolen valor type thing. But who's to say that I can't stand next to you as a civilian in the militia, or my group of men and women who are bearing arms? Who's to say that we can't stand next to you and fight against a tyrannical government? This brings up another point here. I saw an article today that says an appeals court says that wearing unearned military medals is protected by the freedom of speech, which I think is bullshit. If somebody died or almost died saving lives in the line of duty in the military, at the front line, and somebody else takes that away and wears a Purple Heart or dresses up as a member of the military with name tags and patches and all kinds of stupid stuff, that it should not be protected by free speech. It's like saying that I go and buy a Crown Vic or whatever the local law enforcement agency has for a vehicle, dress it up similar to their agency's cars, and then put some red and blues in it and a siren. I can't just go and start pulling people over because I'm not a law enforcement officer, and I can be sent to prison for that. That's impersonating an officer. That's the same thing as stolen valor. That's not right, and it should not be protected under free speech. I mean, that's not to say that I can't go buy a car that's similar to theirs, but to dress it up and put sirens and stuff on it and lights because I want to be a cop, or being a fake cop, that's illegal and should not be protected under any amendment, any kind of amendment at all. So that goes back to the militiamen in Oregon when they're saying that the militia out there is not real because the stolen valor actions that are being taken by members of that militia, they're saying they're veterans, and they weren't even prepared. They were not prepared to go out there at all. They were out there to take on the federal government, more or less, and now they're out of supplies. They're asking people to send them supplies, and what's really funny is that people send them supplies, but they weren't the supplies they needed. They were asking for like specific brand name creamers and flavors and stuff. And I saw here that the militia in Oregon gets gag gifts for sex toys. There was like, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 sex toys sent to them, which is funny because if you're not going to be a serious militia and be prepared, people aren't going to take you seriously. So had they actually went out there and acted as if they were a real militia and been prepared and had their backups prepared to come when they needed them, I think they would have had more backing altogether from the country. But a lot of people send them sex toys and waste their money, so I guess they might be one up. They could sell like sex toys on Amazon. But anyways, what is the militia and who is the militia? I'm not to say that I'm not a militiaman, but I'm not saying I am, because I am my own militia, more or less. So anyways, as always, keep calm and carry on. You guys be safe. See you later. You made it this far. Why don't you go ahead and like me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. You're missing out on a lot of good information and possibly a good giveaways pretty soon. See you later.